All right, today is the day, and I am back. A lot of people have been wondering where I have been, whether I'm okay, and I have been doing great physically. The old COVID hasn't gotten me or anything. But I haven't produced a video or put a video out for a couple of weeks, and I've had a few comments of people wondering where I am. This is going to be a little bit of answer to that. There are a few things. I've had a lot of things going on in my life outside of the channel and building the cars. I won't go into those. They are far and diverse. But I will say that I have been doing a lot of things also that surround the car in the shop here. One of those being that I needed a facility to start assembling the Leviathan project. Now, Leviathan is going to be about 12 feet tall, and it is too big to fit into the shop. So I had a little cover in the back of the shop that covered the foundry furnace, and I dismantled that, and I have built a new one that's a little bit bigger and a lot taller. I will be giving you a little tour of that in just a moment later on in this video. Video production has also been suffering a little bit because of maybe a little bit of a mental block, and let me explain that. Now, I have pretty good self-esteem and am not really affected by the comments so much. At least the negative comments don't bother me. I know that that kind of thing exists, and they are just a challenge to look at and try to see why somebody has a life where they feel like they need to complain. Luckily, I actually don't get too many of that on the channel. But the comments I'm talking about are people that make suggestions, and a lot of those are very good suggestions. And I am very susceptible to maybe being a people pleaser and thinking I should move off in directions that maybe sound like they're actually a good idea in video production wise. But I found, even though the YouTube gurus out there who really understand the algorithm and how things work tend to suggest things that maybe really don't work in a channel like this. They say they do, but they really truly do not understand what it takes to put a channel like this together. First obstacle, of course, is that video sometimes takes maybe 30, 40 hours to produce enough work to have some congruent storyline in a video to see something actually get done. I am going to have to revert to something I've done in the past and kind of make it like this video, which is going to be kind of maybe just a little shop tour. Not particularly one project or one aspect of the project on working on the car. Case in point, I am sitting on a wheel hub that I made a video for a few weeks back, and once it was installed, I found that the little toe link connection to adjust the toe adjustment on this thing interfered with the exhaust pipes. Now, I do not want to rebuild the exhaust system, and so I've had to redo that bracket, lower or put a smaller bracket that still hold it, but just comes down half an inch and clears the exhaust manifold. A boring little tiny little project that's not even worth a video, but we're going to just show you that today just so that you do not miss out and understand something that was missed. And there are a lot of things like that, little tiny pieces that don't really make a congruent storyline, and they get lost if I don't show them at all. And so I will try to find those and go back and capture something I've done, or just put those together into a video that has no storyline, just a mishmash. And I'll just probably call those shop tours. There are, of course, very interesting things coming up, and a lot of those things take time. I work on it a little bit here, work on it a little bit there, in the midst of other projects. And then finally those things the collection comes together and I can put it together in more of a congruent storyline. There are a bunch of those coming up because they are bigger projects. One of those being laminations on the tub. And I've told you before that I am just collecting those and put them into one larger format rather than using video after video of laminations on the tub. Well, that is the end of my rambling. We're going to jump in, take a look at that toe adjustment bracket, a little battery box, and then take a tour outside, see that new lean-to where Leviathan will reside. Let's go take a look. Now, at the end of this video, I'll put a link to the video where I created the hub, and you'll see that the horn for that toe link was made out of a couple pieces of sheet metal with a hole through 2 pieces of the sheet metal where it will accept our turnbuckle toe adjuster. But instead of being able to do that, this time I'm going to have to change that a little bit, and I am building or machining these little billet adapters for our spherical rod ends of our turnbuckle. So had some old rusty round stock, clean it up and taper it down, kind of reduce some of the weight off of it, drill some through it, and I also need to machine a groove through the middle to actually accept the spherical bearing. That spherical bearing is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and so we have to machine out about an inch, inch and an eighth to accept that spherical bearing. So once I get that notch deep enough, I'm also going to jump up and machine the face on each side so that when I drill a hole through to bolt that bearing in place, I also have a place for the nut to clamp down, have a flat surface to torque up against. Now with those ready to go, I'm going to step over now and prep for the bracket that's going to receive the opposite end. Now originally this was made by a couple of little tiny brackets that were welded to the subframe, and then aluminum brackets off of that kind of made a baffle on this side, and on the opposite side was that baffle is also a brace for the fuel tank and the intercooler. So we're going to pull out the aluminum ones, throw them out, cut off the little brackets, and replace them with a new and improved steel bracket. A little more weight this way, but we need the strength now to accept the bracket for the toe adjusting. Now this bracket is just a platform for the actual smaller bracket to receive the toe link. We'll get it tacked in place, and then I'm going to jump across to the passenger side and put that one in position. Now this one is identical, just a mirror image going to the other side, and you'll see that typically this could have been just a triangle piece on top, but it has kind of a round radiused notch out of it, and that is so that our toe link has some travel when the wheel goes into a drop. The toe link has room to clear. So here's the main bracket for the spherical rod end on the inbound. You can see that the toe link is able to drop down that notch. Now I also have a piece of fiberglass above that makes the air scoop for the intercooler, and this little bracket goes up and will bolt to it. Luckily, that fiberglass is right in position, so we can just use it to locate our little riser adapter here. Get a nice flush against the fiberglass, and then tack it to our new adapter plate on the subframe. Now with that done, I'm going to jump back over to the driver's side and get that spherical rod end on the inbound side on the driver's side. Now over here you can see it's kind of, I can use that toe link to set it right where the hub is going to be and tack it in place as well. Now all of these things, almost everything on the subframe has just been tacked together because there is circumstances just like this where I have adapted things, changed things, and added or subtracted. Now here is our little billet spherical rod end accepting socket, and we have cut away the horn, the holes in the original sheet metal, and now we'll weld our little billet adapter here. Now I'm going to have to pull this hub off and weld this completely and take it back in and repair my powder coating. Go through powder coat it all again. Luckily powder coating works really well in this ways. And while I was at it, I also had this battery box or battery tray. And so we're going to, while we have the welder in the shop, get this thing tacked in place. Have a cardboard box and a piece of foam underneath it. Keeps it nice, perfectly the right height, nice and level. And that'll give me 3 good tack welds. Same thing, tack weld it in place because it is just one more thing that when I pull this whole thing apart, take the engine out and all the components off, get this subframe all completely welded and painted or powder coated, whatever we do in the end to that as well. But that is our battery box, that is our toe link fix, and let's take a tour outside. Well, here's the new lean-to. It is 20 by 20 and about 12'6" in the center where the car needs to fit under it. I'm going to pour a slab, so that pushes that up 3 inches. It is going to be a tight fit, but you should be able to go right underneath that. Do need to take this bridge that I have never quite got to, remount it over there so I can have a straight shot into the shop. Just some of those things I need to get done. Ability to work at night.